This is TWiT.
All right. The story of the week this time around is one that Megan and I have been writing for right around a month now. We've been writing furiously, right? It's TWiT Switch 2019. If you recall back on episode 65, Megan handed her iPad Pro with a keyboard dock over to me, and I handed my Pixel Slate with the Slate keyboard over to her. We wanted to see how the tablet keyboard experience compared between the two devices. I know for a fact that I'm incredibly comfortable working with that device over there with Chrome OS. I also know that you love your iPad. So before we make our way back to home where we're familiar, let's talk about our experiences living life on the other side. Who wants to go first? Do you want me to go first, or?
I can go first.
Okay, you go first.
I have some thoughts. My biggest takeaway with this is that a lot of us in the Mac iOS world, we talk about, oh, wouldn't it be great if there were just one, if it was just iOS, if everything was iOS, or where I'm always tapping the screen of my MacBook and I just want one operating system, working on a Mac and an iOS. But that is much more complicated. That's my biggest takeaway from that, because this is it's not an Android device and it's not a Chrome device. It's not, I don't know what it is, and I don't think it knows what it is. And especially when you're talking about apps, at first I was trying to download everything from the Google Play Store, and I was getting the Twitter app, and I was, getting all these apps. And then you said, I don't really use those. I don't use apps. No. I just use everything on the web. And then I thought, well, then why would you do that? At the same time, this is a full functioning web browser, which is great. And the iPad iOS does not have that. So I do really like that. But then there is just this, it's Google's problem in general. It's that there's so many options. Yeah. There's too many options, because you actually can use the Google Play Store to get Chrome apps for your Pixel. It says where do you want to download it, and it's on your Pixel. But then there's also, if you go to the Chrome web store, that's really extensions. That's not apps. Then there's this whole other world. I almost feel like, talk to me when you've got this under control, because there's
that'll never happen.
Well, there's the app service. That's another thing. App service, which is the way that Google thinks they're going to combine all this. I don't know. But functionally, the hardware is great. And I think I'm not the first to say that. It's great that there are two USB-C ports you can charge and, listen or do. You can do two things at once. Connect it to a bigger monitor and charge. That's what I do. I do like the keyboard, and I like the way, you can have all these different angles. That's very nice. There's some things great about it, but the software, I just don't think it's having an identity crisis, and I don't want to be part of that.
I would agree with you that Chrome OS has an identity crisis. I think that the inclusion of Android apps in Chrome OS was something that people were asking for, and I think it's neat that Google was able to pull it off. I don't know that it necessarily solved a lot of the kind of scenarios that people who were asking for it necessarily wanted. It's certainly not the first place to go, because as you experience, when you put apps on there, it doesn't make anything easier. It just kind of makes things more complicated and weird and looks strange and everything like that. Yet the paradigms are crossed, and when you get one, you possibly already know that it does run Android apps. So you're so just think of the utility of this device. It does both things. Yeah, it does that, but probably in most cases, you're better off going to the website than you are the Android app, because it just, and especially kind of working in tablet mode, I don't know. I completely understand what you're saying. But I love working with it in Chrome, as a Chrome browser, as just a desktop kind of environment. I think it's great. But
it's very expensive for that. You could get a Chromebook that's 1/3 of the price, I don't know. Don't Chromebooks cost $5 or something?
Yeah, basically. But I've used a lot of those Chromebooks too, and those are Chromebooks that I would not live with. Yeah. Because the trackpad feels cheap, and the keys are not ideal, and it doesn't have a touch screen. This is expensive, but if I'm going to live in the Chrome OS world, I guess I just have expensive taste. I like that hardware enough that I would use that. And that expense, yes, it's expensive, but it's what I would need in order to live in the Chrome OS world.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess those are my thoughts. I'm excited to get my iPad back because there's a lot of apps that I just like to use on a tablet. And
you're used to kind of working in that tablet environment and using those apps. That's one thing that I learned, like one of the big takeaways that I learned in using the iPad Pro and not having the Slate is that I have such little need in my life for a tablet. Like I just really don't need a tablet. What I use and what I'm used to using and need is the phone that I have in my pocket, and I use that less and less, it seems like these days, and some sort of a productivity style device. And in this case, right now it happens to be the Slate. But there was somebody on Twitter, who was it? I can't remember who it was, who put out a tweet, and I think you even responded to it, from Android Police, who said, don't at me, like the Pixel Book is better than the Pixel Slate.
David Ruddick?
Yeah, yes, it was David Ruddick. Thank you. And when I thought about that, I was like, yeah, but I use both, and I'm happy to use both. But really, at the end of the day, the Pixel Book is great. Like it's actually the solution I need because I don't need the tablet. And so working inside of the tablet of the iPad Pro, it was I felt like so much of it was just kind of lost on me because I was like, well, I don't need it for that. I need it for this.
But I saw you using the coloring book apps.
Yeah, I was using the coloring book.
You were drawing during a meeting.
I felt like I needed to get in there with the pen. I really like that it docks up there on the top and snaps in and starts charging. That's kind of like nice and magical. You know what I mean? At least it doesn't dock like that.
No. Did you download any music creation apps or anything? Did you play?
Oddly enough, I have an older iPad at home that I use with the Spire. If you remember a couple of years ago, there was the little Spire. It's like a little digital multi-track thing, and you can control it on the iPad. That's like one of the only reasons I had the iPad. And actually now they have an Android app, but it's not as good as the iPad app, which kind of is, the thing that I as an Android user run into time and time again is that apps are intentionally made for a tablet on the iPad. Apps are not intentionally made hardly ever for a tablet on Android. And it always feels that way. Even on the Slate, when you get an Android app and you go full screen with it, it doesn't feel like it was made to be like that. You can do it, but it doesn't feel like it was tailored for that. And I will totally give iPad the big thumbs up in that regard. Apple has done a really great job to support and foster the tablet environment. And to encourage developers to create for it. There's a lot of people that love and thrive in that iPad tablet environment, and so developers will follow. That can't be said about Android.
That's true. So you didn't kick back with a little Donut County or Monument Valley or any of the other games for
No, because
iPad?
I can play those. I can play Monument Valley. I don't know about Donut County. You didn't tell me about Donut County. Maybe it isn't on Android, but I can play Monument Valley.
Oh, Monument Valley's on Android?
Yeah.
Oh.
And Part 2.
Oh.
Both of them.
Okay.
So next time you got the Slate, you could download it for what reason, I don't know. It's a great lean back experience. Like I said, the pen was a lot of fun to work with. But not from a productivity angle. It was just more like, hey, drawing with it's kind of fun. I got really used to the gestures, kind of swiping between. At first, when I got it, I felt all lost. I couldn't go back and forth and multitask very well. I got really comfortable with that. The keyboard, I don't know if it's easy to see on the table, but the keyboard attachment, if you put it sideways on the Slate, the Slate's a little bit larger than this iPad in particular, but the keyboard is way less lappable, as like a air quotes laptop.
Yeah.
That the Pixel Slate is a little bit harder. It's going to fall off the edge of your knees.
Right.
And I will definitely say, that this attachment on the iPad is a little bit less deep. And so it actually works in that regard. And, I like the apps, and we kind of already talked about that. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, I realized going into this that this really isn't comparing apples to apples, right? Like that is a productivity setup. It's designed for it. This is a tablet with app support, which is really great. That can be a productivity device. But I think anyone that says it's just as good as any other productivity device is smoking crack, because it's not. You can do that. You can get there, but it's going to slow you down. Yeah. And unless you're okay with that, you will be slowed down. And that was too slow for me. I could not run my life off of this as much as I tried.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think those people, I don't know about their crack use. I can't
That's
say
true.
either
I
way.
don't really know.
But I do know that for
Maybe I shouldn't have
them,
said that.
if they are writers, they usually have been using an app designed for
Totally.
like they've found the perfect app that they just love and they've been using it for a while and now, everything's powerful. Or if they, are musicians or they, they have this one app that they've been using for a while and that's what they use most of the time. And,
right. And I mean, I'm coming at it from the opposite, right? Like everything we do here at TWiT is all built around Google apps.
Yeah.
And sure, like, I've got the dock here. Like I would say that this iPad was really great. I mean, it was fine for running shows, but for creating shows, heck no. Like I tried that multiple times and all it did was slow me down and give me pain, you know? And that's because my choice is to use Google Apps because that's what we use here.
Yeah.
If I had had the flexibility to go into Apple's, first party, developed for the iPad solutions that are similar to the Google Apps suite, I'd probably be talking a different story. But
they
that
don't
just
have
doesn't
any
match my use case.
Right. They don't have any first party. They're all third party. There's no, nobody uses, I mean, I'm sure there are people out there that use Pages. Yeah. I don't know anyone who uses them regularly.
But they have it, I guess.
But yeah, I think when I'm using Google Sheets on the iPad, I feel like Gremlins, like the kitchen in Gremlins, where they're all like throwing everything around, and just like that's exactly my thought. Because all of a sudden, something will go awry, or you'll delete everything, or
where did that
it's
bar
just
go?
And the reason why I imagine Gremlins because I feel like someone's doing it on purpose. I don't know if that's Apple or Google, and I'm sure but that someone's like, I'm just gonna mess up this experience for you, so it's not a perfect experience on the iPad. But those are my feelings about. And so that was a pleasant surprise to be able to use Google Sheets and Google Docs so seamlessly on
because
a tablet.
it's just like your laptop.
Yeah.
Did you ever use it in tablet mode?
I did sometimes, Like I tried to, watch stuff and I didn't have a pencil, so I couldn't draw or color.
It's okay.
But I used it a little bit as on tablet mode. And I also have been using the Microsoft Surface too. Like I've used the Surface Book, and then now I'm using a regular Surface, and that's sort of the same thing. It's that kind of in between. Is this like what is it to have just one operating system, not a tablet operating system, and and because I mean, in some ways, Apple really has three. Like the iPad, the gestures are getting more similar than the iPhone, but for a while there, it felt like three operating systems, different gestures on the iPhone, the iPad, and your computer. And so, I'm glad to be done with it, and I'm glad that we didn't switch phones because that's I'm sure the Pixel is great, but the feelings we always have after that is it's just messed with our routine. In a way to use each other's phones.
Totally. So this messed with our routine in a different way, but I'm happy that we did it because I've always kind of wondered, and I've seen the people on social media who are so dedicated to using the iPad and being like, hey, see, I can use it for everything. I don't need another computer. And I think you're right. They're using apps that they are very used to that accomplish the things that they need to. And I wasn't using those apps, so I didn't have that experience. So I should take it back. I'm sure it's possible to be as productive as you need to be on the iPad. I just couldn't get there based on what I use and what I need. So there we go. We're not going to do it this very second, but we're going to trade devices back after the show. We have to, kind of like wipe them. I don't think you want to be me for the next 11 months on your iPad, right? Although that'd be interesting. We'll save that for
we are
going to
appear on each other's shows.
We can. Yes, absolutely. We can talk about this from more of a deeper experience and get the other guests on our shows to question us.
Right. Yeah.
Deeper.
Yeah.
So you'll see that coming up soon.